So today here are we in Chile, and we're going to talk about drinking and driving in Chile. Not necessarily together, but I think the things that you can enjoy. And we're with Grant Phelps, a winemaker from New Zealand, but you've been in Chile for a long time. So how are you, Grant?
Pretty well, thanks, Javier.
So thank you for being with us here in we're in Portillo, actually, the ski resort, which is 2.5 hours northeast of Santiago, right?
East, yep.
So beautiful ski resorts. We got lucky. We got like 9 inches of snow overnight, which is great.
It's pretty good.
Exactly. And Grant has his wine tasting, his yearly wine tasting. I don't know if you do more than once.
Twice a year. Yep.
Twice a year. So let's talk about drinking or driving first. I think drinking first, no? Because you make wine.
Well, that's got to be my priority. It's a lot more fun than driving,
So,
at least in my case.
Exactly. So you're from New Zealand, and you've been here for how long?
14 years.
And what brought you to Chile?
The wine. I mean, I trained as a winemaker in New Zealand, and during the 90s I was making wine for some English companies basically all around the globe as what's called a flying winemaker. So I would go into wineries under contract, work for 3 to 6 months just for the harvest, get the wine ready to be bottled.
Like a free agent.
Like a free agent, but these were wines that were being made for the English supermarkets. So, with those guys I worked in California, worked in Australia, Hungary, France, Argentina, and eventually I wound up in Chile, and that was, as I already mentioned, 14 years ago. Obviously liked it because I decided to stay.
Yeah, and they like you because you're pretty good too.
Well, it's the thing I like about Chile is that if you find the right winery, the right fit, then you essentially get free reign. And I think, for me it's a little bit easier because I've got a lot of international experience. When a winery hires me here to work as their chief winemaker, they tend to hire me because they want me to change the wines and they want a new direction, they want a new style, and that's what they're looking for. So it's kind of a carte blanche, if you like.
Yeah, and obviously you've been very successful doing that, right? I mean, because you're now at Casas del Bosque.
Been at Casas del Bosque
Casablanca
now
Valley.
I've been with these guys for 5 years now. Casablanca Valley, which is a cool climate region. Before that, I was 7 years as head winemaker at a winery called Viewmanent, which is in the Colchagua Valley. It's a little bit hotter. It's a little bit more akin, say, to Napa Valley in terms of climate. And the winery I worked for specifically was a real Malbec specialist. So for 7 years, I was really concentrating on Malbec over here.
And I understand that winery, Viewmanent, wasn't in the top 10, let's say, of Chile. And then you turn it around pretty good, right?
Well, it was a joint effort because together with hiring me, they also improved a lot their sales and marketing. So it was kind of a combined effort, but definitely I sort of rocked in there. I think they had a portfolio of about 12 wines when I started with them. When we left, it was something like 29 different wines. We started making a Malbec in Argentina. So it was fun. We added a whole lot of wines to the portfolio. We started looking for new terroirs, doing more interesting stuff, and with that we kind of made a push to open up new export markets, find new importers, and obviously the style of the wine changed a lot during the 7 years that I was there. Really probably in the first 2 years it was a very dramatic change. So, as you said, it was fun. When I left the winery, it was the #1 ranked winery in Chile the year that I left, so that was a nice result. I really feel like I left that winery when it was peaking. That's ideal.
So let's talk about a little bit Chile in general, because a lot of people know about Chile, a lot of people don't. So why should people come to Chile? Not only for wine, but for what else?
Well, we're here skiing. Obviously, the skiing's pretty good. Chile, more than anything else for me, it's about nature. I'm from New Zealand, which is it's a very pretty country. Everyone's seen Lord of the Rings. Everyone kind of knows what it looks like. Very beautiful country with a lot of different landscapes within quite a small space, which is the nice thing about New Zealand. You can drive for 45 minutes and be somewhere completely different. Chile's a little bit like that. It's the longest, skinniest country in the world. It's about 3,000 miles from top to bottom. It's only about 110 miles wide on average. And I would say, in fact, that Chile has a greater range of landscapes than even New Zealand does, because in New Zealand we don't have the deserts that they have in the north here, and the south of Patagonia is much wilder, I think, than any part of New Zealand in terms of just wind and rain and that extreme sort of wet climate. So I think Chile is a great place if you love the outdoors. Cities, Santiago is a cool city, but probably if you're into cities, the best thing you can do here is go to a town called Valparaiso. That's where I live, actually.
To visit you.
Yeah, to visit me. Come and hang out. Have 2 guest beds. There you go. No, Valparaiso is a great city. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's a city that was rebuilt in a very short space of time in 1906 after they had an earthquake and a tsunami that wiped out all of the light sort of wooden structures, essentially everything residential that was on the flat part of Valparaiso. And so everyone moved up into the hills, rebuilt with the cheapest construction material at the time which was available, which was corrugated iron. And they painted their houses with all the paint which back then they stole from the shipyards. So it's this crazy mixture of... It looks like a Dr. Seuss book, essentially. So it's a very cool city to visit. And then, I think Chile, the other plus it has is food and wine.
Yeah.
Lots of great fresh seafood. There's a lot of, sounds a bit weird, but actually probably the best cooking here is mainly Peruvian.
I heard that. Yeah.
And that's,
very good ceviche here.
Yeah, because they tend to not overcook the seafood. I mean, that's a Peruvian style of cooking. So lots of great ceviches and scallops and just fantastic fish in general. And the wine. I mean, the wine's great. Chile's been making wine for almost 500 years. Casablanca, where I am, has only been around for 30 years. So it's a new valley, and it's the first cool climate valley that was ever planted in Chile. So right now we're going through a bit of a renaissance in Chile in terms of cool climate viticulture. These new cool climate styles of wine coming on the market. I mean, you were at my tasting last night, so you tasted a few of them. We tasted 5 different wines, all from one vineyard. It's 12 miles from the ocean. Very foggy, very cold site, and we picked most of the grapes in your equivalent of November, even coming to December, which is incredibly late for somewhere like California. So it's a cool site where everything ripens very, very late, and we make a very distinctive style of wine. I think that's something that's interesting, and it's happening right now in Chile. So it's fun.
So distinctive that you have won some awards recently. I heard, right? Like the best Sauvignon Blanc in Chile for this year.
Yeah, I mean the biggest national wine competition. We had that in July, and we took out the trophy. The best Sauvignon Blanc of Chile with our new, actually our entry-level Sauvignon Blanc, which is the Reserva, 2014 vintage, which is already available in Florida with ABC.
Yeah, that's great. So let's talk about driving now in Chile. So we drank a little bit, and then you wait a few hours, or let's separate it completely. Driving in Chile, it's very strict laws, like pretty much zero tolerance, right, for drinking and driving.
Well, it's kind of a mixed bag. I mean, when I moved to Chile 14 years ago, it really grabbed my attention that drink driving was so prevalent coming from New Zealand, where essentially no one drink drives, and if you're at a party and you're thinking about getting in your car and your friends think you've drunk too much, they'll take the car keys off you. There'll be a big scene, and no one will let you drive.
So the people will do it more than like they get into trouble.
Well, people don't want to see their friends getting arrested.
Exactly,
so it's very, very strict, and coming here, I mean, 14 years ago, everyone was drink driving. Everyone. Totally normal. I was kind of appalled, and then, after a while you kind of get into the swing of things, as it were. I probably shouldn't say that, but that's the way it is. You got to adapt to the culture, right?
You have prescribed, probably.
Yeah. So about 2 years ago, they brought in, and it was 0.08 here, so the law was the same as in the US. The problem was it wasn't enforced. So there was this really prevalent culture of drink driving. 2 years ago, they kind of went to the other extreme of bringing in zero tolerance, so you can no longer have any alcohol on your breath if you're driving. It essentially means you can no longer have a glass of wine with your lunch, which I think is very bizarre in a country that's such a major wine producer. And I mean, Chile's wine consumption was dropping before. The US, on the other hand, has been increasing steadily for the past few years. I think about 5 years ago we passed each other. Chile dipped below 15 litres for the first time per capita, and America increased above 15 litres. So we're at about 12 litres already, I think 2 years ago when Tolerancia Cero came in, and it dropped dramatically. Straight away it dropped to 8 litres per capita. So it's had a really major impact.
So it's bad for your business, but good for safety, I guess.
Actually, it's interesting because I don't know if it's that great for safety. What's happened is Easter weekend was classic this year. Easter weekend, they had the highest road toll of any Easter weekend, I think, ever. And that's... The drink driving thing wasn't the issue because all the crashes involved basically women who were driving sober because their husbands were too drunk to drive, but these are women who basically never drive. They have driver's licenses, but
And especially if you come into ski resorts. Oh, but Easter here doesn't fall in ski season. So sorry about that.
what's that?
The Easter doesn't fall here
No.
in skiing season. I was talking about like that. The twist is the coming up to the ski resorts.
No. It wasn't related to people
Okay.
crashing on the way home from the ski fields. No, it was just, I don't know, random crashes. But
Yeah.
I think it was a lot of people getting behind the wheel who don't normally drive, probably with drunk, belligerent, machisto husbands ordering them around, and whatever bad things happen, I guess.
So kind of interesting. So what? We're running out of time here. Like a couple more minutes. What's your recommendation for people from the States? Our audience is national in the States, south of Canada, north of Mexico. People to come here. What would they do?
If they're going to come in summer, I would recommend they obviously going to fly into Santiago. I'd recommend they spend a couple of days in Valparaiso, which is it's an hour and a half's drive from Santiago. It's very close. It's right on the coast. They can do beaches, but I think beaches in Chile are very pretty, but they're not the most exciting thing we have to offer. I would recommend people fly up north to San Pedro de Atacama, which is a lovely little it's a lovely little, what's the word? Rustic town, I guess. It's a lot of adobe architecture, dirt streets, and some nice restaurants, but there's some great tours you can do out into the desert. The one thing that I've done a few times, which is brilliant, is a four-drive trip up into the Altiplano in Bolivia. You cross into Bolivia, and you take 4 days to do a loop around the Salar de Uyuni, which is the biggest salt lake in the world.
Yeah.
That's absolutely dramatic. The landscapes are incredible. The sky is amazingly blue.
We already crossed the border from Chile, so let's concentrate on Chile. And we're out of time, so very quickly, a website for visit your winery.
www.casasdelbosque.cl.
Excellent. Well, Grant Phelps, thank you very much for your time. And we just had lunch. We didn't drink anything, and you're going to drive, so drive safe back to Valparaiso, okay?
Cheers, mate. No worries.
Thank you.
Very good.
Este programa fue una producción de National Latino Broadcasting.